Hello and welcome to the first lecture of this new section on building a continuous learning cycle in this course on mastering learning online. So in this lecture, we will begin by talking about how can you diagnose your skill gaps, right? How do you think you can diagnose your skill gaps? Any thoughts on that? You know, diagnosing a skill gap is not about asking, what am I bad at? That's not the question. It's about asking instead, what is stopping me from becoming the person I want to be? And the framework can become a very powerful learning tool for people like you on Udemy. So let's take a look at this way to diagnose the gaps. So first, let's redefine the skill gap. A skill gap is a difference between your current capability and the capability required for your future role. It's not your current job. It's on the future role that you want. What capabilities do you need versus what you have now? That's the skill gap, right? Then the first step is to pick up from where we had talked about the defining the target role clearly. So there, without because without a target role, there is no gap. So what you need to write down from all the work that you would have done by now, a role that you want in 3 years, the problems you want to face, and the industry you want to grow in, and the income and impact level you want. Say, for example, you could be saying, I want to become an AI augmented strategy consultant, helping organization adopt AI responsibly. And now you have a target role which becomes your benchmark. So start with defining the target role clearly like this. Then you reverse engineer the required capability stack, right? So and there you can use the four-layer skill model in which you create this table and you fill it honestly. Say, for example, if your role is to become a target role is to become an AI strategy consultant, then you layer one could be strategy frameworks, market analysis, change management. Layer 2 could be AI tools, automation systems, data analytics basics. Layer 3 could be ROI modeling, risk assessment, financial thinking. And layer 4 could be your executive communication, influence, and ethical decision making. And this becomes your future capability blueprint. So reverse engineer to get the required capability stack for the target role that you want to be. Then you assess your current levels, which through a reality check. And there, what you do is you rate yourself on 1 to 5, as you see in the third column here on each skill, where 1 is basic awareness, which basically then 2 is that where you can follow instructions, 3 is where you can execute independently, 4 is what you can optimize and improve, and 5th, where you can teach and design systems. And in that, remember to be what is called brutally honest. Be sincere to yourself. Because if you fool, fooling yourself, not anyone else. And this is where, most professionals fail in being brutally honest and rating yourself because ego starts blocking. Ego starts saying, I'm good when you are really not good. And it starts blocking your growth. Then you identify the gaps, which could be of three types. Once you identify the gaps, then there could be three types gap, and not all gaps are equal. You could be having a knowledge gap where you don't know something and the solution is in terms of courses, books, and structured learning. Or it could be an execution gap where you know but you cannot apply confidently. And your solutions then are projects, simulations, and real world practice. Or it could be a strategic gap where you can do the task but you cannot think at the system level. Your solutions there are case studies, cross functional learning, and business exposure. So it's important to identify what type of gap you have. So for working professionals, the biggest gap usually is strategic, not technical. Then you diagnose the bottleneck skills. You've identified all those skills that have rated them. You figured out where are the gaps. Now, what you need to do is to apply the 80-22 rules to diagnose the skills that are becoming bottleneck. And for that, what you need to do is to ask, which 20% of the missing skills would unlock 80% of my growth? Say, for example, is it the poor communication that is limiting my promotion? Is it the weak financial thinking that is limiting the strategic role? Or is it lack of AI understanding that is limiting the future relevance? So whole idea is there to focus on leveraging the gaps. Do get maximum results with minimum effort. So which 20% of the missing skills would unlock 80% of the growth is the key question. Then you also need to do you can also do a quarterly skill audit. You know, every 3 months, what you need to do is ask a few questions. What new problems am I facing? Where did I feel underprepared? What feedbacks did I receive on the work that I'm doing? What decisions do I struggle with? And which skills would have made that easier? And these questions reveal real gaps, not imagined ones. Now, in this whole process, remember to use external mirrors because self assessments can be biased and they are normally biased. Ego is the biggest blocker there, as we were saying. And for that, you can use your manager's feedback, your peers you can ask them to review. You can get feedback from your clients. You can do industry trend analysis and check yourself. Also, job descriptions of your target role can be a wonderful piece, right? And there, what you need to do is to compare your previous job description to the next laws, and that comparison will expose the blind spot. Remember to avoid these 5 common mistakes. Now, what are they? Don't learn without the role clarity. You must be clear. What role do you want to get into next 1, 2, 3 years? And then you start learning. Learning without role clarity is a waste. Collecting certificates without execution again is a common mistake, and don't fall into that trap. Also, people many times ignore human skills. Don't do that. Human skills are most important and differentiating from AI now. Over focusing on tools instead of thinking because tools will change. Thinking is what you will stay with you and not updating your gap diagnosis regularly because things will keep emerging. You will either keep learning or you will start facing new gaps. So you need to know that. So avoid these 5 common mistakes. You can also build a skill gap dashboards by creating these 4 columns here that you see required skill, current level, gap type, and action plan. And say, for example, if you're a strategy consultant, AI strategy consultant, your required skill is executive communication, and if you are at level 2, your gap type you could identify as execution gap, and your action plan could be to join speaking club and monthly presentation. If you could have another skill gap, AI workflow design, where you're currently level 1, and that could simply be a knowledge gap where you need to your action plan could be to complete AI automation course and a project, or it could be financial modeling as a required skill where you have a gap. So fill those skill gaps in your dashboard and keep looking at that and building your learning around that. So what do we do next? We talked about diagnosing bottleneck skills, where we said with 20% efforts, what are the 80% results you can get? How to diagnose that bottleneck skills? Let's take a look at that in more details as we go forward in the next lecture. So thank you so much for watching this first lecture on building a continuous learning cycle. I hope you're continuing to learn new things, continuing to enjoy, and I do look forward to see you again in the next lecture. Please feel free to message me if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer your questions and do download the PDF file to take a look at anything that you need to.